Fall into the can't get out.
Is he there? Is he out there?
I don't know. Hey, Doug.
He must be in the house.
Yeah. Oh. Nice. The heck? Is everything all right? Uh-oh. Hey, Doug.
Alright.
How you doing? I think I threw a tire here.
Huh?
Threw a tire. How are you?
Retired.
I threw one of the tires off of this thing.
Oh.
That one. Just a little bit.
It's on crooked.
Yeah. How have you been doing?
Nothing.
Yeah. We went up, when I came down the hill, there was a falcon chewing on some piece of meat on the side of the road, and then it tried to take off with it, and it dropped it.
Yeah.
And we went back up there to see if it was still there, and there's just a pile of feathers. It was a pigeon. The falcon was eating a pigeon.
Well, there's a guy up the road there too that has a pond.
And he pulled his leg out.
Maybe that's that one.
Yeah, they looked like they were going like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they do that. Somebody is at the pond that feeds the creek.
Yeah, that pond up there, he put some ducks or something in there. I went up the road one day and it had one chewing on it.
Yeah. Oh. A hawk or falcon?
It was a hawk.
Yeah.
I can't tell the difference though.
I've lost so many chickens to so many different varmints. But out in Oceanside one time, these people, this was 15 years ago, and these people were in their 50s, and they had a couple dogs and stuff, and then they had all these chickens, these roosters. They were purebred. They were going to show them or something. I made all these pens, like 18 different pens, so the roosters were separated so they wouldn't fight. And one time it was really windy, and they left something open, and one of the roosters just got blown against the back of the cage, and the wind just trapped it, and it died. It got killed, and they cried. And I thought, yeah, that's weird. They had a parrot or something inside.
Yeah.
They were real bird people. But then one day, the woman said that she walked out of the kitchen, and she just heard something, and she looked out, and there was a hawk sitting up there, and it dropped their pet duck, just like right in front of them, one of the chickens or something. And she just, was so traumatized. She was just wrecked from that. She also said that she wouldn't eat poultry or eggs because, she wouldn't eat eggs because her grandmother made her eat runny eggs once. She barked. And the guy, he was a retired Texas oil guy. He used to pump his own and drill his own wells. He said that his rich dad he was an oil man too. He's in Texas, they had a servant woman, this black lady that, and he said one time she said, "Oh, you want to see how I fix the how I cook the chicken when he was a kid?" And she grabbed this chicken and just spun it like that.
Alright.
And so he was traumatized. Still, he's in his 50s and he was still.
That's the way they used to kill chickens, either that or cut their heads off with an axe.
Yeah, that's efficient. I killed a lot of them, a few of them, because I figured if I couldn't do that, I didn't deserve to be raising. I shouldn't be raising chickens if I can't.
If you cut their heads off, you know, and if you're just throw them out there and they bleed, they run all over the place.
I had a few of them do it. The way that I did it was I had this funnel, and I would just put that in, you know, between some cinder blocks, and then put the chicken in upside down, so their head's sticking out the funnel and they can't move, and then grab their head and like that. A few times they would get out of there with or without their head, flip around. But a lot of the time, I would just take the head and set it down, and I'd look him in the eye, and I would just tell him, you know, sorry, or thanks, or whatever. And you could see him going. It's kind of creepy, but I figured if I couldn't do that, I shouldn't be raising chickens.
No.
From Wisconsin.
Most people used to slaughter chickens.
That's why there's still an ordinance in Portland. You can have 3 hens in your backyard,
Why is it?
or eggs, and whatever. A lot of people have way more than that. Nobody would complain.
There's quite a few people have pet chickens, you know.
Yeah.
See 'em around.
Oh, I've got a pet skunk. Yeah, 2 of them, I think. They're about this big, but I think their mom got hit by a car, and they were all coming by anyway, and they live in this dresser in my front room. I've got videos of them frolicking and stuff, really up close with the camera down here. Yeah.
One day you're gonna do the wrong thing.
No, I've been this close to them when they came to take the food from the cats the kittens were eating, and that's where I draw the line, and I had a shovel out, and the mother cat was about to attack, and the skunk did the warning. This is a full grown one, and then she swung her ass around, and she was pointing it at the cat and me, and looking right at us, threatening us. And they can aim it too.
Yeah.
They have 2 sprays, and I've never been sprayed. I've touched them too. I've pet them, the grown-ups and everything, at night when they come out. They trust me. I've been there for a year, so. And they only live for 2 years, skunks, so they got to get to know people probably pretty fast.
So what have you been doing?
Yeah, hanging out with kittens and skunks mostly. And then my record is done, but it's in some computer form. I can't listen to it, or I can listen to it on the computer,
Yeah.
but I have to send it someplace to make records and CDs. There's a place in Portland that's like Tony's place, but they
Oh,
do
you
music.
can't yourself play it on a
It's
machine?
because it's the masters of it.
Yeah.
And it's a computer file. Normally you would get a tape, you know, and it's heavy or something of it, but because it's a computer file, it's so much information, because there's 3 guitars and a bunch of vocals and all these drum tracks and all this shit, right? So it's such a giant file that it has to be made like this and then put on CDs by somebody with a machine.
So 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah. Oh, they need a machine to do that, to compress it. It's 15 songs in 30 minutes. Sounds pretty good. But
Here's some music.
I just hear birds.
That could
A bunch
be.
of them. I'll show you the kittens. Come on.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Songbirds. Here we are. One of them.
Oh, your kitty, huh?
Yeah, I got 6 of them. Huh. He's giving you a high five. That's Skeeter. That's the cutest one. That's the one that I offered to Tony. Because I don't want to give her to anybody else. Look how cute that sucker is. And that one's just as friendly.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the boys that's big and scruffy and mean looking, but he's really kind of sweet, but I can barely get close to him. And then the other ones, I have no idea if they're boys. At least one's a boy.
Yeah.
But they all look the same. They look just like that. Oh yeah. And then I found the salamander today.
Oh, that one had lost a hunk of tail.
No, it's just curled down.
Oh.
I was holding it. But I've never seen one like that. That's pretty. It's underneath the cardboard stuff.
I used to gather those up when I was a kid.
When I was a kid and I lived in a trailer park with my mom for a while, next to a dairy farm, and then there was a creek next on the other side. And one time I traded, I think it was 2 crayfish for a salamander to another kid. I was 9 or 10.
Snakes. We used to gather up the snakes.
Yeah? What kind? Just garter snakes?
Yeah. Not poisonous.
Right. I lived in New Mexico a couple years. Saw some rattlers down there.
You've been all over the place.
In fact, yeah.
Why did you live in New Mexico?
First I was stationed there in the Army, and then I went back there for college. I went to a year at New Mexico State.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, you could make any of this up. How do I know you did that?
Well, you want to really hear something? My freshman semester, my first semester, I was 24 years old. I wrote an article for the campus magazine that changed labor laws in the southwestern states and saved a whole lot of people from indentured servitude. Yeah. There was these...
Did you save that that you wrote?
I've got the article somewhere. It was 1994.
Right.
And there was businesses that they would get all the companies in a small town to go through them for their employees. They guaranteed them qualified employees for free, but they couldn't advertise their job. You look in the paper and say, it's tough to find a job, isn't it? I guarantee to find you a job. And you call the guy, go in and do all your testing, they're going to place you, and you pay $80. If they can't find you a job, you get your $80 back. So I identified myself as a journalist and all that, and I interviewed someone from the State Department of Labor. I ran my article, and the person said that I didn't identify myself, and I had the lawyer, or my editor was in the room when I made the call and heard me do it. So then when it was legitimized, the State Department of Labor said, look out for these businesses, and they did, and so they found them. Then they sent it on to California, and they did the same thing, and so did Arizona. And the next year they closed the loophole in the law, and they changed it. And they shut down those businesses.
Didn't you fear for your life after that? You were
No,
on somebody's list.
No, because it only ran in the in-house newsletters of the state departments of labor, so they're the only ones that saw. Their operatives were told to look out for that shit, and they saw it everywhere. It was in all these little shitting towns like Bakersfield and California and stuff, and it had just been a loophole created by Clinton took over in '92, right? But then it was a favor to the bankers, to business. They didn't really check the fine print that was possible. Nobody knew, and so when the Department of Labor, they said no, we had no idea that was occurring, and I was just at the right time, at the right place, and had the right amount of voice to do it. And the reason that it got the attention of the State Department of Labor is because their person I talked to said I didn't identify myself as a...
So you never got any money for doing it.
Because they weren't authorized to talk to me. That's what
And
it was.
then,
They didn't want to get
and then the
yes, I did. I
guys
got paid
that you
$100
hurt
by
by taking their money away.
Yeah, screw them.
Well, that's who you should have been watching out for. They would be out to get you.
Well, they could find out my name if they wanted to. Screw them.
still, well, they've given that up.
Well,
That was
journalistic,
a long time ago.
when the damage is done, what are they gonna do? You got journalistic immunity. And I was a 24-year-old college student. What the fuck are they gonna do?
Well, you got
And
out
I
of
was
that
an
one,
MP
okay.
in the Army besides.
That's
I
what
could go southpaw or I can switch up.
Okay. That's what I've told I have a cousin that lives,